So we'll be starting today with introductory comments from our IDF president, Dr. Judith Bryant, followed by one of our lead experts will be sharing with you the key findings from our new IDF bulletin. That presentation will be followed by a short presentation on the literature review that we included in the bulletin. And the second part of the webinar will be devoted to case studies where we have colleagues from the United States and India that will be presenting the school meal program in their country. So let's begin. So Dr. Judith Bryant has been IDF president since 2016. She is also the CEO of Dairy UK. So Judith, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much, Caroline. Hi everybody. It's so good to see you all. Welcome to this event. I'm really looking forward to today's event. I think that the team has done a great job in putting together an interesting and informative program for all of us on this very special day. I very much continue to be grateful to the Food and Agriculture Organization, who 20 years ago had the vision of designating a special day to allow the world to celebrate the importance of school milk programs. And if we think about the world that we live in, today, at least 1 in 3 children under the age of 5 is not growing well due to malnutrition in its most visible forms, whether that's stunting, wasting, or whether it's overweight. And I guess at a most basic level, on the one hand, we have millions of children in the world who are eating too little of what they need to be healthy and lead productive lives. And on the other hand, we have millions more children who are eating too much of what they don't need to live healthy and productive lives. So when you think about that, it's easy to see why UNICEF would say in 2019 that poor diets are now the main risk factor for the global burden of disease. And I think we would all agree that investing in the nutrition of our children all over the world is absolutely critical to human capital formation, because good nutrition is central to children's growth, to their cognitive development, to their ability to do well in school, and then to have a future where they're healthy and productive human beings. And around the world, school feeding programs represent such a valuable opportunity to positively influence the lives of children and adolescents by improving their nutrition and setting them up for a healthier future and a healthier life. Now, we all know that the provision of school milk as part of feeding programs has a really long history, and the support for these programs really stems from the recognition that milk and dairy products are nutritionally advantageous foods in terms of childhood nutrition. And dairy has a unique package of nutrients, and those nutrients in a versatile and tasty package are very important in helping to address a number of forms of malnutrition. And we know from the scientific literature that regular intake of milk and dairy products has been and continues to be widely associated with better growth, better micronutrient status, better cognitive performance and motor function development in children. And another benefit, as I mentioned just a moment ago, is the versatility. And I want to just dwell on that for a moment, because many people might not think that's important, but it's incredibly important, because versatility in our products allows us to be included in school milk programs all over a culturally diverse world so that they are more acceptable and can be included in any dietary pattern. So continuing to offer milk at school as part of an organized program can really help benefit the status of millions of children across the globe. And we have to think about those kids and their future and how they will grow and develop and help the world in the future. We're still in the grip of COVID-19. And during this pandemic, we have seen schools around the world close for very good and reasonable reasons. But those school closures have had an effect on children, and particularly the poorest children, because it's really affected their ability to access nutritious foods and to have the health benefits of those foods and the ability to have health support schemes. But I would say that even in these difficult times, the dairy sector has continued to show resilience, and it has tried to find innovative solutions to continue to get food to those vulnerable children. And I think we'll see in the webinar today how some of that innovation has worked. So in today's webinar, we can expect to get a good overview of the International Dairy Federation's second survey on school milk programs, to get a better understanding of the drivers and barriers that affect the provision of milk in school, as well as hearing about the supporting science identifying the current evidence regarding the nutritional impact of milk. And of course, there will be an opportunity to learn about school milk programs organized in the United States and India. And that's fantastic because these are two of the largest programs worldwide, reaching millions of children. So with that, I would like to conclude my introductory comments by thanking everybody who's been involved in the school milk work in IDF, thanking the FAO, wishing you a successful webinar as our participants and guests, and also, most importantly, a very happy World School Milk Day, if only I could get the words out. Back to you, Caroline.
Thank you so much, Judith. I would like to introduce our next speaker, Mrs. Marita Vermaak from South Africa. We'll present our main outcomes of the IDF bulletin. She's a registered dietitian from South Africa, working for the Consumer Education Program of Milk in South Africa, and currently an active member of the IDF Standing Committee on Nutrition and Health, as well as Science and Program Coordination Committee. So Marita, the floor is yours. Are you on mute, Marita, maybe?
Sorry, I was reminding myself all the time to remember to unmute, so sorry about that.
No problem.
It's good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to some of you. We were all supposed to be celebrating World School Milk Day today right here in South Africa. Though your physical presence would have been wonderful, for now I need to be happy to virtually share with you the results of the IDF's 2020 edition on school milk programs around the world and how they contribute to the nutrition of our children. I've checked that it, sorry, doesn't want to move. I just want to see. When we checked it just now, it was moving, so sorry about that. Laurence, can you maybe help me?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there it seems to work. Thank you. I've got it, Laurence. Sorry, it always works like that. So I was saying that improving child nutrition is imperative for sustainable development. Current research recognizes the critical importance of health and nutrition during the first 1,000 days of a child's life and emphasizes that the time up to young adulthood offers a continuous opportunity for productive intervention in development. Poor diets and malnutrition, on the other hand, have devastating effects on children's health, their school performance, and their ability to learn. Throughout the bulletin, we can see how school feeding programs present valuable opportunities to positively affect children's development by increasing the access to education, improving nutrition and health, and stimulating local economies. Approximately 400 million children worldwide receive a meal at school every day. The provision of milk as part of a formal feeding scheme in schools has a long history, with accounts of organized school milk programs dating back to the 1920s in the UK and the 1940s in the United States. Since then, school milk programs have been introduced in many more countries across the world. Support of these programs stems from recognizing milk and milk products as a nutritional advantageous food for children due to the unique nutrient profile of dairy. The unique package of essential nutrients in dairy product contribute to addressing all forms of malnutrition. The regular intake of milk and dairy products has also proven to be associated with better growth, micronutrient status, cognitive performance, and motor function development in children. Since 1993, the IDF has taken it upon themselves to provide an overview of countries' experiences regarding the development and establishment of school milk programs. However, this was still a limited formal assessment of the operational aspects and the actual efficiency of the programs. The initial work done by the IDF laid the foundation for the survey conducted by the FAO in 1998. From here, the FAO and IDF worked collaboratively to present the largest ever survey in 2013. This survey provided insights into various school milk programs presented around the world, and its results were published as an IDF bulletin in 2015. The new 2020 report provides data on the implementation of school milk programs. The objectives of the survey was to outline the logistics, the economics, the nutritional aspects, and the marketing of the school milk programs used. The idea was that the survey will help to guide others who wish to extend or start their own program. The data will also enable you to compare the development of programs worldwide. In addition, to form a more comprehensive understanding of milk in schools, the 2020 report also includes information on general school feeding programs in which milk was included. The assessment that was preceding the report was done in 2019. It consisted of two parts. One, an extensive questionnaire-based survey that was done amongst organizers of school milk programs across the world and conducted in partnership with Tetra Label. And secondly, a comprehensive literature review to create a solid theoretical framework for understanding the nutritional impact of school milk programs. Erika Hocking will be telling you more about this directly after my presentation. The survey was sent to dedicated program holders within the IDF community, as well as Tetra Label programs. This resulted in the fact that we could reach more programs that have been implemented right across the globe. Let's look at some of the results. A total of 62 questionnaires were considered, representing 55 countries. At the end of the analysis of the results showed us that 160 million children across 62 countries benefit from school milk programs or school feeding programs providing milk at schools. The main objectives of these programs was indicated by 81% of respondents to focus on improving child health and nutrition. Other objectives mentioned were to encourage children to attend school and promoting local milk production. The target markets of school milk programs were reported to mostly include primary school children between the ages of 5 and 11 years. 45% of the program showed targeted pre-primary school learners younger than 5 years, and 47% of programs indicated that they target secondary schools, that is, children older than 12 years. The serving size that the majority of children received was a glass serving that is 200 to 300 milliliters of milk. That was served more than twice a week. Plain whole milk or semi-skimmed milk was the most commonly available dairy product. Whole milk was offered to children younger than 5 and semi-skimmed milk to children older than 5 years. This is in line with most countries' food-based dietary guidelines for children. Other products that were offered as part of the school milk program are yogurt, flavored milk, and lactose-reduced milk, as well as cheese. Plain whole milk was mostly available in long life form, and 81% of the time milk was supplied in cartons and to a lesser extent in plastic containers. Here is a graph representing all the dairy products served as part of the school milk program. And I would like to encourage you to download the 2020 bulletin for more detailed figures and information. Respondents indicated that school milk programs take current consumer demands into account, so to offer a product profile that allows as many children as possible to benefit from the health and nutritional benefits of milk and dairy products. Milk and dairy products consist of a unique combination of important nutrients within a specific food matrix that helps us to maintain a healthy body. Dairy products are also a valuable source of affordable, good quality protein and generally supplies with 3 of the 4 nutrients lacking in most diets. In South Africa, these gap nutrients are calcium, potassium, and vitamin A. The fact that milk is also a source of affordable protein and is culturally very well accepted in South Africa makes it a valuable addition to the National School Feeding Program of South Africa. When looking at the implementation and management of the programs, respondents reported that the majority of programs supply milk at a subsidized cost, and in most countries, milk need to be locally sourced. The survey indicated that most of the programs were implemented by one stakeholder, while the rest were jointly managed by distributors and dairies, or else a collaboration between schools, local governments, dairy organizations, and processors. Respondents indicated that the distribution of milk at schools is most often managed by teachers or administrative staff at schools. The children will either receive their milk in the classroom or at school cafeterias or a tuck shop. The survey showed that many school milk programs were supported by some kind of government involvement. At least half of the respondents received support from their Department of Agriculture. A third indicated support from the Ministry of Education, and only 14% was supported by the Ministry of Health. Almost 20% of respondents stipulated that the regional governments and local municipalities were also involved. Close to 2/3 of the respondents indicated that evidence on nutrition-based research was used as a framework for implementing the program. The type of evidence mentioned was food consumption data that identified nutrient gaps, statistics on children's nutritional status, and international evidence on the effectiveness of programs to improve nutritional outcomes in children. When it got to marketing milk in schools, health and nutritional benefits of milk were indicated as the main focus of marketing messages. Educational resources were the most common promotional activity provided by the dairy industry, and messages were largely aimed to teachers, parents, and learners. 71% of respondents indicated that their country or region participated in milk promotions through events such as International World Milk Day, and of course, like today, World School Milk Day. Other examples of marketing initiatives included proactive marketing events to teach children about the importance of milk and other dairy foods in their diet, visits to dairy farms, opportunities to learn about the origin of dairy foods, and social media campaigns, just to name a few. Cost and delivery or supply chain problems were noted as the main barriers to effective implementation of school milk programs. In summary, we can say that apart from scientific data, a survey like this also presents an opportunity to learn from one another and to share successes and challenges. And above all, IDF is seen as a trusted source of information on school milk programs. The aim should be that school milk programs need to be tailored to local settings, needs, and the specific socioeconomic environment of its host country, thus ensuring that they are sustainably anchored in a multitude of partners and various choices of milk products. Organized programs for providing milk at schools are now surely recognized as a contributing factor to children's improved nutritional status and healthy development. Lastly, I would like to acknowledge all the participating parties who made this work possible, thank you for your hard work, and then thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Marietta, for this very useful presentation. And we're receiving several comments on the chat about the presentation. Yes, they will be made available, and the recording of this session and presentation will also be on our website. So you will have access to all that information. So our next speaker is Erika Ocking. Erika is a registered nutritionist and a senior nutrition scientist at Dairy UK. She is the deputy chair of the IDF Standing Committee on Nutrition and Health and a member of the school milk team. And she will be talking about the science behind the school milk program. The floor is yours, Erika.
Thank you, Caroline. Just setting up my slides. Bear with me a second. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Caroline, and happy World School Milk Day, everybody. I hope you're having a good day and you're celebrating. So today I'm going to talk you through some of the highlights of the literature review, which can be found in section 2 of the School Milk Bulletin. So as part of our remit on school milk programmes, we commissioned Lee Underhill, a registered dietitian, to review the recent evidence on the nutritional impact of school milk initiatives that are provided through a structured programme. And to cast our net as broadly as possible, we asked Ms. Underhill to look at all types of programmes, such as breakfast, lunch and snack programmes that provide milk in schools. So, school milk providing programmes were originally created as a safety net to support nutritional intakes in vulnerable children and can be traced back over 100 years. So here I have summarised some of the major milestones of school milk programmes. In the UK, the School Meals Act of 1906 acknowledged the importance of including milk in the diets of children, and by 1920, milk clubs had flourished in schools across London. This led to a fully established school milk programme in 1934. And since then, school milk providing programmes have spread and flourished across the globe. Over the past few decades, milk has been provided in schools in many countries as part of a nutrition intervention to improve health. The development of school milk programmes has largely been influenced by agricultural, economic and educational considerations. However, many of these initiatives also aim to raise awareness of the nutrient profile of milk, as well as to support the nutritional needs of undernourished children. And this is still true for many current programmes. And although important research on the nutritional impact of early school milk programmes exists, only a limited number of peer-reviewed studies have investigated the nutritional impact of school milk programmes since. So this review looked at the available evidence between 1990 and 2019. So I'm not going to spend much time on this slide today, but I would like to acknowledge that the author followed a process and used specific search terms to shortlist peer-reviewed studies. Ms. Underhill also reviewed the grey literature around school milk programmes, which was collated from trusted sources, such as NGO websites and IDF contacts. So this slide here, this table shows the results of the literature review search. As you can see, the author shortlisted 35 peer-reviewed studies for the review. The results are categorised by programme type as well as by nutritional impact. So next I'm going to talk you through some of the nutritional impacts listed in the column on the left here. So many of the shortlisted studies that mentioned milk as a measure of dietary quality were from the US, and they evaluated the nutritional impact of school breakfast or lunch programmes. And to summarise, these studies reported that participants of programmes were more likely to consume milk and had higher intakes of milk than non-participants. And participants of a free breakfast programme consumed more dairy than those who were on a subsidised programme. And additionally, participants of a lunch programme consumed 77% of their daily milk intake with their school meals and consumed more dairy at lunch than non-participants. UK-based programmes found participants of lunch programmes consumed more dairy than those who brought lunch from home and had more dairy in their daily diet generally. And in interventions in schools where vending machines served only milk or water, 24% of participants were more likely to drink milk outside of school, and 27% were less likely to drink juice in school. So the author found several studies looking at calcium and vitamin D status, as well as for other important nutrients found in dairy. And to summarize these studies, they reported that students taking part in a school lunch program that included dairy had higher calcium intakes compared to non-participants. Additionally, students who took part in a program that offered milk with lunch had higher calcium intakes and better calcium status compared to students who brought their lunch from home. And as well, students who received breakfast for free had higher calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus intakes than students who paid for their meals. And US programs that offered milk as a snack also helped improve intakes of vitamin D. And lastly, Kenyan students who were supplemented with a glass of milk with their lunch had a greater increased intakes of vitamin B12, B2, and vitamin A compared to non-participants. So the role of milk in growth and development of children is well established, as it has already been mentioned. And the author found 9 programs which investigated changes in height, weight, BMI, and stunting. So to summarize these studies, they found a positive impact on weight, height, and mid-arm muscle mass circumference in undernourished students who consumed milk or dairy as part of an intervention. So for example, a school milk program reported a beneficial effect on the weight of female students after 3 months of taking part in the program, and an improvement in height for younger or stunted children who consumed milk with their lunch was observed in the Kenyan program. And this group also saw improvements in their mid-arm muscle circumference. So milk, as you know, is a great vehicle for delivering additional nutrients to the diet. And although interventions that provide fortified milk may not necessarily be considered as a regular school milk program, they do share some similar objectives, and namely, these are to improve the nutritional status of children and to influence attitudes and preference towards drinking milk. So the author looked at a number of programs that provided fortified milk. To summarize, these programs significantly improved iodine status in participants, although the control group who received non-fortified milk also saw improvements in their iodine status. For the fortified milk interventions, they improved folate, B12, B2 status in participants, and students were less likely to have iron or B2 deficiency. And some of these programs also improved vitamin A, iron, and zinc status. And students were shown to have higher intakes of calcium and vitamin D and higher serum levels of vitamin D. And several studies reported improvements in height, weight, BMI, and stunting. So to summarize, school milk providing initiatives have a beneficial impact on the nutritional status and health of children. However, the author identified a number of gaps in the literature and made a series of recommendations based on her findings. Most of these recommendations are around improving objectives and metrics and assessments of children, but I don't really have time to talk you through these today. However, you can read all about them in the School Milk Bulletin. So before I finish, I would just like to encourage you all to download the bulletin, because there's really lots of useful information in there, and you can read more about the literature review in section 2 of the bulletin. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. So thank you for listening, and that's all. Back to you, Caroline.
Thank you very much, Erika.